Hi, hello, this is Colin. Welcome to the Common Briefing Program. I usually don't say my name first, but here we are. We're in it, and it can't be edited now. We are a very well-organized, finely tuned journalistic enterprise that monthly tries to bring you the hottest headlines from geek news around the world, typically centered in the United States, but we branch out when it's appropriate. We just have a lot of fun talking about this stuff together, and so we will continue to do that. And let me tell you, September 2023 was a bigger month than some of the ones before it, where we keep coming to talk about the stuff thinking maybe we shouldn't even talk because I don't care about anything that happened. Not so, said September. Well, Jeff actually you seemed to have some trouble.
I don't have shit.
Finding a story for the month, so this will be an hour plus of Chowder and Colin regaling Jeff with tales of high crimes and misdemeanors across the various entertainment industries, as is our wont.
My favorite.
I've already said all our names at this point, so let's put some names to the faces. Again, I'm Colin. I'm joined by...
I am Jeff. I'm here. Allegedly.
Hi, I'm Timel, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. And, yeah.
It was just like
I wasn't doing this.
I know,
was doing this.
But your fingers, it was like the most like kind of like drunk, like least convicted, like aloha wave that I've ever seen, and it just kind of looked like little crab pincers.
I activate the Cog of Steel.
It's actually, I'm realizing now that this manner of pinching is not something I see very often, and it's quite grotesque. I don't enjoy the image.
What you do.
It's uncomfortable. Chowder looks like he's discovered a newfound source of strength and is about to conquer the world. Well, what is...
I mean,
my God.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Timel, and I think I should probably get a webcam, an actual webcam, instead of just rely on my computers.
Because
I'm looking at...
You really need to think about it in terms of return on investment. One, how much investment are you making in the webcam? Two, there's not a return. So I guess it's just you're looking at investment. In what investment? That's it. That's the end of the consideration. So I guess
if I'm being real with you, Chowder, I think it's more about lighting than the webcam quality. I'm just using my laptop.
I will say, MacBook webcams tend to be a little crisper than other things. Even so, most laptops will still cheap out with a 720, like pretty small sensor.
Sure.
So it's just like because I'll tell you this, I'm running off a real fancy webcam. The graininess on my image comes from lighting. I've done some finagling due to my secret eyes that don't work right to allow things to look properly exposed. Even when the light is quite dim. It is actually very dark in my room right now. And even though I'm visible clearly, I do look like I came out of a 70s porno as a result. So we all sort of have to pick and choose our battles.
Yeah.
So Chatter, if you want to join me in Porn Town, you can stick with the webcam. Like, that's fine.
No one wants to join you in Porn Town.
By the end of this conversation, this strange pincing motion will be burdened with horrible meaning. I am...
Oh, God.
Yeah, getting in touch...
New fetish.
Yeah, getting them in touch is...
This is like one of those things where it's like measuring your bone structure. Like
yeah.
If you can wrap your hands around your wrists and make them touch, it's like, can you even touch your finger, your pinky and your thumb?
I have to bring them way down in front of my fingies. I can't easily get them over. I'm fairly dexterous hands, and I can't... I'm a piano man. I'm a game man.
Get them over. Yeah, no, you can't get them over.
It's
your pinky doesn't move in that direction. How would you get it over?
I do a decent amount of yoga instructed by the Apple Fitness training thing, where they're always
finger yoga
specifically. They are zoomed in on these people's hands. There's a whole fetish Reddit about it, but they'll do a lot of instructing. I'm joking about all that. The yoga instructing that they do every once in a while, they'll be like, they'll say something. Hold on, Command www. That's closing tabs. And sometimes they'll say with the instruction, "Hey, my bones don't work this way. So the move might look different from you. I'm like, haha, my bones are better than yours, stupid TV lady. But then she'll be like, and if you want, you could just put your shoulder under your thigh and wrap your hand around your back. And I'm like, you made that up. That's not possible. So on one hand, I'm being told it's my bone structure, but something tells me there's a way to get these dang fingies to touch the way I want them to. There's got to be an amount of work that I can put into that. We'll see. So I'm clearly in a more demented space than usual. Do you think that that's a good reason to jump on in? Are you guys in a similarly horrible mindset? Okay, let's jump on in.
Horrible every day. Let's get unhinged, baby.
So I think a lot.
Let's do it. Because I'm trying to unhinge my jaw. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Hey, we got there.
Understanding the joke and enjoying the joke are two very different things. It's a very scary image. So just going chronologically through the stories that I contributed to our discussion over the past month, I do want to talk about Xbox for two. Sorry, Chowder, you erupted like the surface of the sun once again.
Right.
Sorry, it caught my eye. I want to talk about Xbox for two reasons. Yeah. I hear. Let me be clear, Chowder. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just funny and surprising every time. That's all it is. I enjoy reacting to things.
I want to double check my articles.
Yeah. Hold on, guys. Put on your welding goggles. I need to fact check something.
It's like when we were doing that real or fake episode, and whenever I went into my camera, it would get all like fucking dark and scary.
So there are two reasons I want to talk about Xbox over the past month. One of them has to do with the platform and company and brand as a whole. And the other has to do with how that pertains to its RPGs, its recent role-playing releases, or conspicuously lack thereof. Now, something huge happened this month. Over the course of the year, we've checked in on a lot of the various happenings in the process for Microsoft to legally acquire Activision Blizzard and fold them into Xbox. There are major legal challenges in the UK and also here in the US, where the FTC was kind of like, hey, that's too much games in one box. So you gotta dump that box out a little bit.
For a while, Microsoft was singing the FTC won't let me be, but then they let them be.
It's not that they let them be, it's that they lost. They the injunction that the FTC filed
lost? I thought.
The FTC sued to stop the merger from going through, and in the injunction that was handled in July, Microsoft won the injunction so they were like allowed to go through with it. FTC could still potentially sue again down the road, but the injunction was just basically it was an attempt to kill the deal ahead of time, because if you put a hold on it, there was like an internal deadline of like July 18th, and FTC just wanted to get it paused so that timeline would pass, and then Microsoft would say, oh, we can't do it, Activision's backing out. That didn't happen. FTC could sue again in the future, I think, but like that, as of right now, there is nothing legally stopping them. That could change, but it seems like it's going to happen. I don't want to talk about that just yet. I think that'll be more pertinent in months to come. But what I do want to talk about is something that happened as a result of this lawsuit, which is Chowder burning his skin off with a new form of chemical peel. And the Microsoft lawsuit.
Why are these websites all white?
That's a really important question.
Put Google to dark mode.
Google dark mode. I have extensions in all my browsers on all my computers to save me from exactly what you're experiencing. Yeah. The whole problem with this lawsuit as of the last month for Microsoft is not actually the lawsuit itself. It has to do with a series of unredacted files that Microsoft uploaded voluntarily to the internet. They were supposed to say, hey, here's stuff that we need to present for the lawsuit, but instead they said, here's all of our marketing plans for the next 8 years or so. And if you just like open it in Adobe Reader, you can see through all the redactions. And here's the next 10 years of our plan.
Oh, that's right.
So now we know what the next.
Wait, was this the situation where the like all the redacted files, like someone like redacted them with like Sharpie or something like that?
That was something else. That
was something else.
What was that for? That was for something.
I don't remember,
big.
But I was thinking that was a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah, no, it was not this. It was not this situation. That was a different legal thing.
I think it might have been a government.
I feel like that was a political thing that I laughed about and moved on from. This was less egregious. This was someone who, like, I guess when you open the files in the file browser, you couldn't see it, but Adobe Reader can just see right through it because it can access all parts of the PDF.
It's like, and this sentence was redacted, and then quotes the whole sentence that was redacted.
Yeah, exactly. So what's interesting is this was not even just like this wasn't like, hey, here are things pertinent to the case. It was literally just 10 years of marketing info and a ton of like emails from Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, outlining their entire strategy. Mm-hmm. So we know Xbox's release plans, strategies, budgets for a decade to come. And it was allegedly just an accident. It was just something that they uploaded on their own. Highlights from this, and there are tons of people breaking down a lot of the news in a lot of detail. I think Skillup on YouTube did his most recent video games weekly news thing, like really went in depth on a lot of it. But the stuff that really stands out is the next Xbox Series X is coming out in a year or so. It'll have no serious updates to performance, but it'll have a smaller nanometer chip. It'll have more storage, and it won't have a disk drive. And a lot of people are saying, you're killing physical media. And in a sense, yes, I feel like the threat to physical media is more broadly the fact that there are no protections in place once something is delisted. Because if you look at things in the PC market, people have managed to preserve games pretty consistently. You can rip everything, port everything, whatever. There are emulators for everything. The problem is
just another hit to archival shit.
Yeah, so it does make it is obviously a blow to video games preservation on the console side of things. That said, I don't think it is quite the death knell that people are making it. I think as the more troubling thing that they said is how they are leaning into cloud services, particularly not just like games that you can play through the cloud, which I'm like, that's fine. That creates its own preservation issues that I don't like. But just because you literally don't have access to the game file at all, I think that's a much bigger problem than how that is delivered to you. But stuff saying like, hey, we're going to have games that can leverage cloud servers and cloud processing to run parts of the game remotely, allowing more stuff to happen on device. So if you're looking at a big open world thing, you can hit a CPU limit to how much processing your computer can pump through to like run all the individual people on the street. So offload that shit to the cloud. That's not important. That's set dressing. You can let your computer really dig into the stuff that you're interacting with directly and let the cloud handle the rest. Then that, of course, brings up the question, what happens when that server goes offline? Now your single player game doesn't work anymore. Like it's like the much bigger implications for that I don't like. So that's just that.
I feel like fucking everyone who's like into cloud shit like just accepts it as fact that like nothing ever goes down. It's just like it's horseshit.
Yeah, no, that is a very strange perception of technology that I feel like only prosumers have. I feel like anybody below that level doesn't understand it enough to care. And the people that do understand it are like, I work with technology and everything is spaghetti code all the time. Nothing works. Like it's a miracle the internet has reached some sort of stability as it is. It's just a series of protocols.
It's like the whole thing when they took away the fucking aux port from people's phones, right? It's just like, oh, you can use Bluetooth. And I'm just like, have you ever used Bluetooth?
Exactly.
You know how fucking frustrating it is?
And it took several years for Bluetooth to get to the point where it was convenient enough to offset that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this is going to be a thing where it's not a matter of, is it going to be convenient enough? It's a matter of, can you get it at all? And it's just a much more extreme version of exactly that phenomenon.
And,
exactly.
God help you if you live in a place with bad internet, you know?
And that's another ongoing thing is as long as internet like carts before the horses, like we're betting big on this thing. And like, is it the future? Probably. We haven't really built the structures to make that future accessible to everyone, beneficial to everybody, or even just thoroughly beneficial to the people using it. Like I think one of the guys at Digital Foundry put it best, saying that like the only reason this is not a problem on PC is one, you can do illegal shit to get the games, but two, you have the stewardship of people like Valve, like companies that are not just exercising their own, their own might over the PC market, but are generally acting in good faith toward the benefit of games as a medium and toward the community.
Yeah, no,
it's scary to rely on that, but
it's going to be a sad day when Gabe Newell dies and then like Valve, goes out into the public stock market and then like,
yeah, I think
fucks everything.
Yeah, a change of leadership in Valve could be kind of like, Trump being president. It's like, people just follow most of the rules most of the time. Oh, you can just not do that. All right, cool.
Yeah, so, no. Like the miracle, it really is just that Gabe Newell is in charge of Valve, and that's why, for all its flaws, it acts in good faith at least. But
yeah. So beyond that, we got just a lot of information about Bethesda release schedules and they think that the new console generations could kick off around 2028. A lot of emails talking about how they expected Xbox Series X to be outperforming the PS5. A lot of things about how they've mismanaged certain parts of their gaming portfolio. A lot of interesting stuff. But to me, the games preservation thing, I think, is an interesting conversation that I don't think is happening along the right axis. I think it's much broader than just Xbox is getting rid of a disk drive. Consoles are a closed market anyway. Like you have so little control over that. You need a broader sense of democratization of this information that you get on PC. And even that is not where it needs to be because, again, trying to keep this shit archived is illegal most of the time. It's just that it's too expensive for companies to chase down individuals. So there's a lot going on. It's hilarious how that happened in the first place. It's not hugely damaging to Microsoft at first. Like it's kind of like a oopsie doodles. I don't know. Like there hasn't been much.
Yeah.
Nobody's covering their asses. It's just kind of like, oh well, shit, that's out there. Let's just keep on trucking. So
yeah. I didn't even realize this was a thing till you told me. What?
It was big. It's really big. It's like possibly one of the biggest gaming leaks to ever happen. And it's not really breaking anything. The other Xbox thing I wanted to talk about, you can actually find details of in here.
Because as long as it's not like leaking them saying like a bunch of really sketch ass shit, if they're mostly just like, oh yeah, we wanted to release these games and like all stuff that they would have said eventually, just as time progressed.
Unexpectedly, most of the emails
spoilers
that made a lot of headlines were things of Phil Spencer going around like just demonstrating that he is a deeply invested gamer that cares about and understands the industry in which he works. And I'm like, weird. I expected something salacious, but this is just like kind of endearing me to the people that just made like $1 billion blunder. So the other thing that caught my eye here, and the reason I want to talk about it is last month I said that when we come back, I'm going to be talking a lot about Starfield. That was a lie because Starfield is fine. It got a lot of hate up front, and things have sort of mellowed as the community has really found their place with it. And I'll say this, Bethesda Game Studios, publishers of the Elder Scrolls and Fallouts 3 and onward, New Vegas asterisk, are all very of a kind. They are huge, expansive, genre-defining role-playing games, particularly for Western role-playing games that blend decision-making with action RPG stuff in a way that has always been very delightful, to the point where they have repackaged Skyrim probably 8 times over the last decade and sold it as a new game. There's a lot of mileage to these games because they're big, they're expansive, and the modding community gives them a lot of life. So when we saw all the demos for Starfield earlier this year, it was like, if they can deliver on this is GOTY. This is Game of the Year material. And they did deliver on a lot of it, but not in quite as polished a state as a lot of people would have liked. And I don't mean that in a sense of like,
that's just the Bethesda story.
Except it's not. And here's what's different is you expect the Bethesda bugs, the horse on the roof, the cart launching into space in the middle of a cutscene. You go to try to punch a giant and instead your body gets shoved into the ground and you don't know what's going on. I try to duplicate a potion to make a cheat code. Oops, I dropped 10,000 pink bottles on the ground and my Xbox overheated. Like, these are the kinds of things that you typically see in Bethesda games. And by and large, that's not really the problem. I think the way I would describe it is if you take the core of a game like Fallout, where you're walking around a map, or Skyrim, where you're walking around a map, and then you take that game and you try to stretch it across a galaxy, you can see the game like busting up against its engine's limits. There are constant loading screens. There is not a great sense of continuity and action. A lot of like the stuff you're used to seeing go wrong in Bethesda games is largely fine, but it's just like in the year where we have Tears of the Kingdom running on a 2015 like AMD processor that gives you this seamless top to bottom motion from sky to ground to depths and
underground.
And it is like, granted, Zelda is doing a lot of physics simulation, but not a lot of world simulation. They're very different beasts, but I think the expectation has been to give us a seamless product, and Starfield is definitely not that. You have some janky facial animations, you have some janky camera positioning, just things that make it seem a little goofy and a little dated. It feels like Skyrim, but Skyrim came out in 2011. So on one hand, you have a game that feels... And this year, you have a game that feels very modern and also pretty dated in a lot of ways. And I think that's important because Microsoft paid $7.5 billion for Bethesda to secure Starfield as an exclusive. And so far that's paying off. Over like 10 million people have played it. User reviews are really positive. Game reviews are positive to mixed to positive. Chatter?
Yeah, like from what I understand of like the Starfield, it's like, a generally well-liked game, but like the flaws is that they haven't really improved on like the Bethesda formula. Like the inventory management is a fucking mess. Like
it is,
like it was in Skyrim and Fallout. The way like quests are handled are still kind of messy.
It all
just like all the problems you have with Skyrim or Fallout 3, it's there in Starfield, and it's like, guys, you need to learn.
And that's the thing.
You're not Game Freak. You can't.
Yeah, I don't think it feels quite that egregious, because I will say this: I very much enjoy the setting. I enjoy a lot of the stories, but Chowder, you're right. The way that they're delivered, you're like, the games industry and gamers. Fallout 4 came out in 2015. It's been 8 years since we had a Bethesda RPG. We've come a long way since then. And this is where I want to turn my attention to Baldur's Gate 3. Because Baldur's Gate 3, sleeper hit. Granted, it's been in early access for a long time, but when it came out in August, immediately surprised the developers, surprised the community, surprised journalists, surprised everybody with how well it was performing. And most importantly, it surprised Microsoft. Some of the information we got out of this leak is how they're valuing games that they want to pay to get onto Game Pass as a way to, lure people into the subscription, because Game Pass subscriptions have stagnated. So context here, they paid $7.5 billion for Bethesda, primarily to secure Starfield as an exclusive. Monetarily seems to be paying off, but, maybe not the like A+ hit that they were hoping for. Baldur's Gate 3, and there was a list of examples for how they were estimating the cost to get things onto their platform. Something like Jedi Survivor was estimated they would have had to pay $300 million to get this game on Game Pass, and they're like, ugh, that's too much. For Baldur's Gate, by comparison, they estimated $5 million. So for context, Jedi Survivor, $0.3 billion. Starfield, $7.6 billion. Baldur's Gate 3, $5 million. They really underestimated this, as everyone did. And Baldur's Gate 3 is the game that is up for Game of the Year against Tears of the Kingdom. Because not because it pushed the technical limits, it is a pretty game, but because its role-playing systems are more robust, because its characters are more naturally able to be interacted with, because your choices have more weight in the way it's designed. Basically, to Chowder's point, all those role-playing systems that have sort of stagnated in Bethesda's belly, Baldur's Gate grew them. And Microsoft is in a very awkward position because you can't get Baldur's Gate on Xbox right now, even if you pay for it. Because the Xbox current series consoles, you have the S and the X. The X is the expensive one that gives you native 4K stuff. The S gives you lower quality for a cheaper price. Makes sense, right? They have a rule that if you're going to have a game on Xbox, it needs to run on both with feature parity. Same shit, different consoles, but one of them isn't as pretty. Larian Studios has not been able to get Baldur's Gate 3 running on Xbox Series S because it doesn't have enough RAM to render the game twice for two people on the same screen. And Microsoft basically said, whatever, we'll give you some help, but we're not in a rush. It's a $5 million game. Now it's one of the biggest games of the year, and they don't have it. And they just issued an exception to say, this game is not coming out on the Xbox Series S because we miscalculated how much it would be worth. Our timing is awful. Starfield isn't the huge hit we thought it'd be. And this is something we have to get out the door immediately, and we cannot get it to run on this console. So it's very funny to me to see all these leaks come out, to see them make these kind of big miscalculations, even though a lot of other people made them, and then also be hamstrung by their own policies to a point where that miscalculation has landed them in this awkward position where they're basically killing off the rule that keeps their smaller console alive. And this is all just a big mess of Microsoft stuff that I find a little frustrating, but pretty entertaining. I would prefer to be playing on my Xbox because that's the best place for me to play. But yeah, they made it goofy, and now they don't have Baldur's Gate. They don't have the biggest game of the year. They could have had it for cheap as hell. So yeah, Microsoft has made a lot of mistakes that have become evident over the last month. And it's a weird one. Weird implications for games across the board. There are other things I could certainly talk about, but I've already gone on for a little bit. So if either of you want to jump in with a story, that is the cap on my Microsoft is a big fool discussion.
Yeah, sure. I'll run through a couple small things.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking making a sequel to Chicken Run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, Chicken Run is, a cult classic, but like, it's not a thing people are like. It's a great movie, but like, it's not a thing people were like, wish it had more. There were so many unanswered questions.
So many unanswered.
Yeah, really. I mean, I feel like it's like, I'll give it a shot because if it's the fucking Wallace and Gromit people, like it'll probably be fine.
Listen, Aardman's good. Aardman does good work, but yeah, this didn't seem like it was particularly ripe for a sequel. At least they didn't bring back Mel Gibson.
And it looks like a weird sequel too. Like, oh, we're fucking doing a bunch of weird like sci-fi shit instead of. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, fine. Fucking the original one, they made a giant flying wooden bird, so I guess it's not that far off. But yeah, it looks weird. They're some of the voice cast is coming back, but a lot of them aren't. They're not bringing back the person who plays Ginger, the main chicken, because they said she sounded too old. But then cast someone who's like 62 or something like.
No, they casted Tandy Newton from Westworld.
Oh, okay. Is that who they cast?
Yep. Yeah.
How old is she?
I think 40s.
Oh, okay. Oh, then never mind that. But
they also did not
obviously
bring back Mel
Gibson. Yeah.
I think I got Zach
good call. I didn't even realize that he played that. That he played that character until I was looking it up.
They did get Zach Levy, which if you're trying to avoid one PR disaster, he's not quite Mel Gibson level.
I hadn't even thought about that,
but he has had some close calls over the last year. So interesting replacement.
Yeah, well, they wanted to keep it on brand, I guess. I think the only notable ones that I know that are coming back are like the three sidekick hens.
The ones that are always knitting.
Fucking Yeah, one of them is always knitting.
Oh, right,
That's
that's
one
just
of
the one.
them. She's the same voice actress, the one with the glasses, and the like the other one, the third one. There's 3 of them, and the Miss Tweety is the same actress as well.
The Tweeties
the
are
evil,
coming back. I guess they didn't die. They just got
just
covered.
the one.
Yeah, they just got covered in shit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Mr. Tweety is coming back, but Miss Tweety was in the trailer.
I have such a skewed
Anyway,
conception
it's
of
just
that
another
movie.
fucking thing that they're doing a sequel to instead of coming up with new things. I think it's going to be it's a Netflix thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that was one thing that happened this month. Fionna and Cake came out. I talked about that a little bit last month. It was real good. Has lots of banger songs in it. Yeah. And some really fucked up moments because they're like, they're not like steering super hardcore into the we're allowed to do adult shit now, but it is a little bit jarring at times where it's just like, oh shit, that's right. You're allowed to fucking just like have Finn stab a goddamn, bear and just like rip out its heart or whatever. Like we're allowed to have blood now.
That's brutal.
So there's a few moments where I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I do remember.
Which aren't that bad on their own, but like just I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I was watching How I Met Your Father, and like they said shit and asshole, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, it didn't matter. Exactly, yeah.
Language.
I bought some pearls just to clutch them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Fionna and Cake kind of feels like, oh hey, it's been long enough that the audience who was kids when they watched Adventure Time are now adults.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do something that like plays to them a little bit. And,
and might be
that's how you get like Fionna making out with like the alternate universe Ice King.
I mean, they kiss. They don't really make out. Oh, you just mean the that fucking episode though.
No, I mean the part where he like decomposes right after.
Oh.
Yeah, spoilers, but yeah. Also, fucking brilliant goddamn casting of an alternate universe handsome Iceman is played by fucking Brian David Gilbert. It's so fucking good.
It's very good casting.
Pretty good.
Ice King, not Iceman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really solid. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about that is there was some shitty so Prismo is a character from Adventure Time. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's originally played by Kumail Nanjiani, and he did not reprise this role for the series. They had a different actor play him, and there was like an exchange on fucking Twitter or X or whatever the goddamn fuck they're calling it these days, where Kumail Nanjiani was just like, yeah, that's not me. No one ever contacted me to see if I would come back. And I would have, and Adam Muto, the showrunner, was like, hey, actually, we did contact your agents and they told us that you were busy. And it turned out that it was just like his agents just made that call. And he was like, bro, I would have done that shit for free. I love that character so much.
Yeah, that's sad. No, that happens all the time. I remember a fun story from years ago. Weird Al always, when he does a parody, he doesn't have to, but he always reaches out to the artist to make sure that they're cool with it. And he reached out to Lady Gaga for a parody of Born This Way. And she said no. He was like, oh, okay, well, I'll put it out for free. I'm not going to make money on it, but like, here's the work I did on the song. And then she came across the song and she's like, this is freaking great. What happened? It was the same thing. Her agent turned it down without asking her, and then everything got made up later. But
it kind of feels like a fireable offense a little bit. Just like you didn't consult me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I imagine that you get to a point like the reason you have an employee, and agents obviously more so than most, but like the reason you have an employee is to make your life easier. Especially managing calendars. Like, assistants have been around as long as there have been fucking calendars, I guess. Like, it makes sense to say, like, hey, keep my life easy. And maybe this one person, this one agent that from the agency that represents Kumail Nanjiani, just for some reason didn't have cable. So they were forced to watch reruns of Cyberspace on PBS Kids, and they missed out on Adventure Time and had no idea what the significance of this opportunity was. That's my thought.
Because it was also like he was in it, you know, like it was a reprisal of a role, not just, you know, like you should know your, like, you know, but there was another recasting. Weird that they even included this at all, but it was like there was a cameo from Lemon Grab, who was not voiced by Justin Roiland anymore, obviously. And I was watching, I was just like, that seems pointed, because they really didn't actually have to put Lemon Grab in this at all. You know what I mean? Like it was like not relevant. So it's just, it seemed a little bit like, oh yeah, hey, it's a different voice, by the way.
I feel like Lemon Grab in particular is a character that wasn't a character. Lemon Grab was just, hey, we have Justin Roiland doing loud screaming on our show.
No, Lemon Grab had some fucking episodes that explored Lemon Grab.
Honestly, I wish they didn't. I wish they didn't have.
And also,
Lemon
that
Grab
was
episodes. They're kind of my least favorite, but
Lemon Grab spoke to me on an atomic level. That was what
was so good.
Other people mourned the loss of Rick and Morty, but I was like, is there no more Lemon Grab in the world?
Well, I mean, Adventure Time was already like had already run its course by that point. And also, like, Lemon Grab was like pretty much all of the Lemon Grab stuff was largely before Rick and Morty was even a thing. So it's not even like we just got Justin Roiland in the studio. It's like he was Lemon Grab before he was kind of big. So it's like but yeah. Anyway, but the rest of it was good. Had some really good songs in it. And that, you know, that's pretty much all that happened this month. There was a Hasbro like fan fest thing, the PulseCon, where they unveiled a bunch of new products. Nothing super notable. They did say that they're not unveiling the new Transformers HasLab until next year, because they're busy with a bunch of the 40th anniversary stuff. They kind of hinted as what it might be, but it's fucking speculation at this point.
It's got something to do with Optimus Prime.
Maybe, but they did say purposefully when they started HasLab that they would never do a HasLab that wasn't Optimus Prime, just because it was supposed to be for like bigger things that were kind of
I was just remarking on the fact that it's the 40th anniversary. What are you gonna do if not Optimus?
True, but they're probably just going to release a bunch of Optimus stuff in main retail.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, not really a lot to say about that. So that's pretty much all I got. Use some more time for all the heavier stories.
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck.
Hey, Chatter, how do you want to decide who talks about Unity?
Well, you already went, so I guess it's Chatter.
Yeah, but I don't want to force him onto it if he doesn't have to, and I won't talk near. There's much less interconnectedness than all my Xbox stories. So,
I mean, I can take the lead on it. So Unity. Earlier in September, Unity was like, "Hey, we're gonna have a change to our pricing structure for our Unity engine." And if you don't know the Unity engine, basically it's like one of the standards. Like, you basically have
this is engines. Right. I remember this. Okay.
Yeah, you basically have two engines, Unreal or Unity, and like
for specifically like if you're talking engines that really like can like sort of push in terms of fidelity without a serious amount of like bespoke customized modules and extra supplemental stuff. In terms of off-the-shelf software, it usually does boil down to these two. I know that there are other options like Pico, but like, I mean, stuff like Game Maker could never compete with what Unity can put out.
And you know, and the way it's played out, most like indie devs rely on Unity, and even non-indie rely on Unity. And like, Unity is like, hey, we're gonna make a change to our pricing structure, that is also
it's gonna be cheaper.
That is also retroactive. So hear me out here.
Oh my
Instead
God!
of
it's retroactive. What you can't do that.
Yeah. Instead of like an annual plan or a monthly plan, and we are gonna charge per install, or is it on top of that? I forget.
It was an additional. They call it a runtime fee, which would have been 20 cents for every installation of the game.
Yeah.
For retroactively every Unity game currently on the market. If that sounds like a terms and conditions violation.
Yeah.
No, it's
like, hey, by the way,
because like, look,
I'm gonna go over to Colin's house with a freshly baked pie and be like, here's a birthday present, Colin. And then 2 years from now, you're like, hey, fucking pony up and pay me for that pie that I made you 2 years ago.
Yeah. I will point to the shit that I shat that pie and say, you can fucking eat it out of my cold dead hands. And that's what the community did to Unity. I knew this could happen, Jeff. Once shit and twice shy.
And like
I've taken too many free pies to know not to keep this shit. Fool me once, shame on me.
And like, here's the fucking stupid part of like paying per installation. It's just that like you don't necessarily make money off installations, right? Like you know, you could like uninstall a game and then reinstall a game when you have more space in your computer. That the devs have to pay for that. If someone like say pirates your game and they install the game, devs have to pay for that.
Even though they didn't make money off it.
Exactly. Like there's like
there are two hypotheticals that came out of this that I just delicious company shooting themselves in the foot. One, if people want to take action against a game for, I don't know, maybe they had a gay character in it or made a woman a fully fleshed out character. Now all you can do is review bomb the game. But what if you could repeatedly uninstall and reinstall the game to cause financial harm to the publisher? And people are like, oh yeah, that does give them that tool, doesn't it? Another was, hey, I have a game built in Unity coming out on Game Pass next month, which has 25 million subscribers that can all install my game at the same time for no extra money. And you know what Unity's response was to that? Microsoft has to pay that bill. You know,
Microsoft was like, the fuck we will.
Yeah. Microsoft's like, the fuck we don't.
Are you kidding me? I just talked about how they're valuing things in the hundreds of $1 million to get them on Game Pass. Can you imagine how not chill they would be with any Unity games on their service if this came to pass?
Yeah, and
it's fucking insane.
It's like, and you know, Unity's like, no, it's fine. Here's my source. Trust me, bro. And you know, and basically like every dev that uses Unity is now horrified, terrified. There are people who have games that are upcoming that are like, I think I just need to cancel this right now because like there is a distinct possibility that I could suffer from success by having too many people install my game.
Yeah, it would have only begun after like, I think like 200,000 installs or something like that, which would only affect a small percentage of developers. But I mean, do the math on that. 20 cents to $200,000. That's like, oh, cool. My game is finally taken off on Steam. And now I owe like a fifth of my money that I didn't sign up for.
Yeah.
And, you know, and devs who have used Unity are like, do I just have to take my game off? Like, you know, like Cult of the Lamb was like, yeah, guys, if you want the game, you're gonna have to get it before January 1st because after that, it's gone.
Yeah.
And like, I got a cousin who like has a game that he made on Unity called Shotgun Farmers, and like, even he has to be like, January. Even he has to like consider.
All it takes is one good Steam sale for you to suddenly have a $40,000 bill.
Yeah, exactly. It's and it's just like, you know, Unity knew all this. They knew all of this.
And especially
They're a big
fucking
company.
Applying it retroactively,
Yes.
like, wouldn't that just mean that like every fucking company would own them like millions, like right away, day one?
So the
like
important thing to know
shit.
about something like Unity, there are two pieces of context I want to deliver you here. One is that they have a free version of their engine, so anyone can download Unity and start using it. And you pay a certain amount on the back end after you sell it. So you have a lot of small developers that would never be hit by something like this, and I think that's the sort of angle they were relying on to carry this policy forward, saying like, "Oh, it's only the rich and successful ones that are going to get hit," when in reality, it's like. It's more stifling than that. I don't want to defend it. Like, I'm not defending that characterization at all.
Right.
But that's the one side of it. There are a lot of people that wouldn't be hit.
Just hit the it wouldn't just hit the rich and successful or rich and powerful. It would hit just about anyone, mid-level,
yes,
low level, who finally got the big break they wanted.
Especially in a market where there are increasingly high volumes of self-published games, now that platforms have easier tools for that. I mean, games that are published through someone like Microsoft, there are whole arms of their business. Sony has whole arms of their business that are like dedicated to organizing that stuff. But if you're just like a team of like 6 people who cranked out a labor of love and like, oh no, shit, I got too good too fast. Now suddenly you're in financial trouble because you don't have that cushion. So yeah, it's fucked top to bottom, that proposal. And the additional bit of context has to do with, and I don't even need to go very much into this, under the the word of chief executive offer, John Riccitiello. If you don't know John Riccitiello,
the former EA CEO, yeah.
EA, who under his leadership, even amongst all the cable companies in the world, all the oil companies in the world, EA was so unpopular with the people patronizing it that several years in a row, under his leadership, it was voted the worst company in the world. EA had a really bad streak. Yeah, EA's like largely kind of just another company now. There was a stretch about 10 years ago where they were considered like the shitbags of entertainment in just about every conceivable way. And this is the gentleman when, and I knew nothing about this guy until the Unity stories started coming out, and everyone's like, yeah, no, this is why we weren't initially stoked when he was when he was appointed. Granted, that was a long time ago, but yeah. So anyway, there's your context. It would hurt everyone, and it was from a person that we would expect to make that decision.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's just like kind of speaks to like the lack of any kind of creativity, just to be like, how do we make more money?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just charge them for something stupid.
Yep. And I mean, like everything else in our economy at the moment, it's but there are people making so much money that if you just gave them a little less money, this wouldn't be a problem. Not an option. What did end up happening? Unity did walk much of this back. They the runtime fees will no longer be applied retroactively. They will also.
Yeah, that doesn't even seem like it would be legal, right?
You'd think, right? I imagine the looming angry eyebrows of Microsoft and Game Pass were a big deterrent to them saying like, we don't even want to step in this particular legal puddle. So that's no longer on the table. But also, instead of just paying, here, I actually have this in front of me. It's not just that you have to pay like, here's a certain amount that you have to pay per install. It's like, depending on how much you have, you can also opt for like a flat rate or a revenue share. So it is now another option to ensure that they are getting money based on that scales with the success of a game, but also not punishing people for being too successful by giving them a relief valve in terms of other pricing options that people have been responding better to. But once again, Chatter hit the nail on the head. The trust is gone. Because kind of like I was intimating with the Microsoft stuff and like games preservation, we are leaning on the good faith of a company that has just demonstrated extremely bad faith action.
Yep.
So like they walked it back. There is nothing stopping them from making a change like this in the future. Several developers have already moved to other engines. Just as like, I can't trust this anymore. Godot is another competitor that apparently is doing pretty well. I believe the the company that makes Godot,
And,
basically said, like, we're just going to develop
what
to
a
like these other
goddamn-
funds because we just want to make sure other people have the tools they need.
Yeah, and like what a fucking stupid business decision.
Mhm.
Like aside from just being like greedy and selfish or whatever, it's also just like you didn't see this backfiring for you at all.
Yeah. Their corporate line was something along the
You
lines
thought
of,
that you thought that all these companies would just be like,
Yeah,
sure,
they
here's
said-
all our money.
they said like, hey, we didn't talk with our partners enough, and it's like, I can see that. That was pretty
Yeah, no
obvious
shit.
that you did not talk to your partners and your customers to get feedback on this idea. That's a pretty crucial step in bringing something to market, my guy. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. Everyone hated it.
I feel like though, even if they just said, "Hey guys, what if we did this?" That would already be like a huge breach of trust because then they would be like, "You're thinking that way, bro? What the fuck?"
But they could have done
You
it
know?
in a way that like they get to target how it's delivered and they can control the spread. They just
Right,
lit the
yeah.
fucking fire.
Yeah.
Like greedy
Fucking
and stupid is how
Bananas.
John Riccatello always operates. It's like you know,
Yeah,
back when he
fair.
ran EA, like the things he did, it was just like what you could. It's like
Under his
You can't-
tutelage,
you can't
EA
even
made
say, "Oh."
huge changes to the industry in terms of like how we see microtransactions now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like you're not even like cutthroat or practical. You're just stupid and greedy.
So yeah, that was a doozy woozy. I'm glad to see it get walked back and to see a result that like developers can
I mean,
jive with, but
they kind of didn't walk it back. They still have it. They still have the paper install thing, even if it is an option? Question mark.
yeah, so I mean, let's see. It effectively it turns out instead of just being a way to like harvest money off old games, which is just basically a money button. People are just going to feed us money. This just becomes essentially another financing option. It's only for people who get like certain versions of the engine, achieve certain levels of success, and choose this option. It's pay per install is it is a flawed idea, which is why I think it makes sense to make it an option, because every financing option, every way you can think of pricing something disadvantages somebody in some way. So giving people the option to say like, hey, I'm in a position where I would actually save money by paying per install instead of just paying you $1 million. Like there's a gap there. And other people might get to a point where they say that would actually cost me more money. So having the option to choose which is less,
I guess I just
that is
I guess
valuable.
I just find it difficult to like imagine the situation where someone would choose that, you know? So it's like,
Well-
what's the point of having it? But maybe there isn't. I'm just not saying it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's just about which one is going to save you money. And for people that aren't going to make $1 million, maybe you have a game that's a little lower priced. Maybe you have something that's higher priced, but a niche market, something that just can't achieve the scale, or you're not going to get the distribution you thought you wanted. There's so many reasons that you could expect a game to perform at a certain level of volume and then tailor this accordingly, and then potentially change payment stuff down the road. I think, again, the problem at the core of most of this shit in this particular case is lack of transparency, lack of choice. By not telling anyone that this was going to happen, reneging on old stuff, and then also not giving people an opt-out, that fucks everybody all the time. By saying, we need to raise our prices, but we're going to do it in a way that allows you to choose how this hits you, that's different. It could be bad for some people because raising prices sucks. But it's such a different characterization of it. And that said, I don't think this does anything for their PR issues that they're getting from this. They are still now the company that tried to pull this stunt. Like their reputation is tarnished.
I never want to try Unity again. Like, you know, I've used Unity to, and you know, to learn it and to like, so that I could like develop for it someday. But like now it's like, I think I'll have to look to other places.
Yeah, and
Better get Unreal.
They're in a market where people have the ability to do that.
Unreal, Godot.
That's
even Game Maker.
It's another point into the like the stupidity column of just like Like Unity's big. Don't get me wrong; they're a big company. They have a big market share, but Unreal is eating everybody's lunch right now. I understand you're trying to compete with Unreal, but like Unreal is also free.
That ain't the way to do it.
And then you pay like 20% on the back end, or like 30%, and then it changes depending on how successful you are. Like it's just it is a way to squeeze money out of it, but it doesn't even sound like it's competing with Unreal. It just sounds like we need more money. Which, like, sure, you need more money.
Yeah,
cool,
exactly. Because it's like, if Unreal is outperforming Unity, right, and then they're like, oh, we need to get better than them, we're gonna make it so our thing costs more. You've then just created a product that works less and costs more. How do you think that's gonna go, my man?
No, exactly. It was all around.
Unreal is the thing that's like making all these crazy innovations right now, and like actually changing the way things can be built.
To be fair, and this is gonna lead right into Chatter's next story. Yeah. The reason they can do this is because they have Fortnite, and Fortnite is a fucking cash cow. So Fortnite essentially subsidizes the development of Unreal because it's all Epic. Take it away, Chatter.
I mean, okay, so that leads off into Unreal's other innovation from their company Epic, which is laying off 16% of their employees. And the cuts amount to more than 800 employees, according to Nicole Carpenter of Polygon. So it's just like, Epic Games, the company that has like been boasting about like record profits, is like, hey, we're gonna lay off 16% of our workforce. Why? Jesus. According to them, for a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn, investing in the next evolution of Epic and growing Fortnite as a metaverse-inspired ecosystem for creators.
Oh no! Oh no! I didn't like a single word out of that sentence.
I had long been optimistic that we could power through this transition without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see that this was unrealistic. Motherfucker!
No, you can't say unrealistic in this context. You can't do that. That's the least ethical pun I've heard in my fucking life. What the fuck is this?
This is gonna be a thing now.
It's unrealistic.
Oh my god.
Unrealistic.
That's fucked.
You motherfucker.
Are these like from across the company? Is it just Fortnite? Because if they're saying Fortnite's not making enough money, cool. I don't think Unreal is a problem. I mean, player counts in Fortnite and Battle Royale has been dipping lately, so like I can see it if they overspend. I don't like it. But like I could at least understand like where they're coming from. But as a whole, holistically looking at the company, what's going on? Is this just like the general market fear that everyone has right now?
Epic Games is valued at $31.5 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. Fortnite alone generates billions of revenue each year.
Yep.
So
Jesus
fuck. Bullshit.
This is like if in the previous story, if they were like, hey, we're all going to make you pay a bunch, so you'll all be united in how much you're getting fucked by us.
So what's interesting to me here is like we talked earlier about Valve and their stewardship of games and how much we rely on like the good actions of people like Gabe Newell, who have, generally had positive impacts on the gaming space. Tim Sweeney and Epic have really led the charge in a lot of ways in trying to increase revenue share for developers, trying to ensure that the Epic Game Store only takes like a 12% cut instead of the standard like 20-30% cut that you see on Valve, App Store, Google Play, all these different things. They have constantly been champions for, and I'm not saying that this is all good faith on their end, but they have always presented themselves, Tim Sweeney especially, as people who are like willing to fight the good fight for the gamer. They're the ones who broke Apple's App Store rules and took the largest company in the world to court to try to get them to fucking open up their platform, which in my mind, that is a thing we should be doing. That's the EU is finally probably about to do it, but like, that's the kind of action we should be taking. So it's like when we talk about like, hey, we just have to trust Unity, or we just have to rely on people like Valve to do the right thing. Where are these layoffs coming from? Like, I know this is a very different scope of issue than the Unity thing because it's internal to Epic, but like you are making so much money. You are incredibly valuable.
This isn't necessary.
You have best in class product. Fortnite is a cash fucking river. You don't necessarily I'm not a stockholder. You don't have to make it make sense to me, but like Jesus Christ, what's going on?
Like with Unreal alone, they have like such a grip on the game, on like the gaming economy, and like
it's only getting worse.
You know, you can have a whole ass business on Unreal alone, but they don't just have Unreal alone. They also have Fortnite, the thing that just jizzes money. You know, and like
it's still got like I mean, like there are paper cuts. I don't know if this is still the case, but like there was a period in time like a year or two ago where Fortnite Battle Royale had the same monthly active user count as, do you know what I'm about to say? Netflix. Netflix. Pre-password crackdown Netflix. That's what I'm saying. Like peak Netflix and peak Fortnite are the same thing.
Yeah.
People conceive of games as much smaller than they are. Fortnite is Netflix.
Yeah.
That's not a perfect comparison because not everyone pays to play Fortnite, but you got whales in there that do. And again, tremendous amounts of money. So yeah, it seems sketchy and off-brand.
Yep.
Maybe they just like, they just coordinated this. We're like, hey, two of the main, game developing engines, we're just going to both fuck you at the same time. So you have to pick which one you want to get fucked by more.
Yeah. Again, I think that this is just a different scope of issue. It's just a bad taste in the mouth. I mean, Apple's kind of like the only giant tech company that hasn't laid people off. Yeah. I mean, with the layoffs recently, a lot of what we're seeing on the corporate level are layoffs due to concerns about the economy, particularly the many, many Fed interest hikes to combat inflation that are making it much more expensive to take out loans and to finance things. And I mean that the goal of the Fed is to drive down, in this case, to drive down employment and to drive down the effectiveness of companies to sort of stabilize things. Because yeah, sure, that's how the economy should fucking work. But the effect that it's having is getting these companies to clam up and say, "Oh, you got to do everything." That's why you see 11,000 layoffs at Amazon, 10,000 at Google. Surprisingly, not at Apple, but they did freeze hiring and stop giving people raises. So it's hitting all these companies, and they're all buttoning up for the same reason. This comes oddly later than the others, so maybe they tried very hard to hold out, but they're bumping up against some forecasts that are just really dire. But we're also at a point where now Meta, Facebook Meta, who also laid off thousands and thousands of people, is now seemingly trying to hire people back because they laid off too many and it wasn't as bad as they thought. And it's just like, everybody's freaking out about the current economy and the current jobs market, but Jesus.
But everyone feels so short-sighted. It's like, you didn't think you would need them later? Like, dude, look past the fiscal quarter.
They can't. That their job is not to do that, and that's what sucks. That is their job. Their job is to look at the fiscal quarter. And again, like to your point, like if we have a Newell-less, publicly traded, Wall Street driven Valve, all the stuff I said about games preservation at the top of this fucking conversation is dead. We're at the mercy of these companies. I think that is the recurring theme of this particular episode, is you have a lot of companies doing very stupid things based on financial miscalculations. And we just kind of have to cross our fingers that we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Like, part of like what makes Nintendo like allows Nintendo to be good for the most part is that like they have a company structure that prioritizes longevity, that like, hey, we want this company to continue for as long as possible. Partly because we are kind of a historical relic, because Nintendo started in like
1890s,
1903?
Late 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah, late 1800s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nintendo's
what were they doing back then?
Oh, what, you don't have any cartridges for the Nintendo Hoop and Stick? That was where the Wiimote design came from. It was a hoop and stick. And they just made it
literally
shorter.
though, what did they fucking do? What did Nintendo do before?
Like cards?
Before they did trading cards.
Yeah.
They moved on to toys, and then when video games became a thing, that's where they moved on to.
I will say, like Nintendo,
did not know that.
Especially another thing that came out in a lot of those Microsoft leaks was more information that Microsoft has thought about buying Nintendo. And there's been like talk for years about someone of Microsoft or Apple size or Disney size buying Nintendo. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I think in many ways, the way Nintendo does business creates some truly magical things. Again, they shout out Tears of the Kingdom this year, and it's a goddamn masterpiece, top to bottom. But also, let's be very clear that if we want to criticize Bethesda for re-releasing Skyrim every couple of years, at least you can still go get Skyrim on all the consoles. Nintendo will shut down an old console, delist everything, remake the game just by upscaling stuff through an AI feed, and then charge you an extra $10 on top of the original price. They are awful for games preservation. They're terrible.
Yeah, no, make no mistake. Nintendo does some fuckery, but compared to stuff that we've been talking about, they don't that kind of fucking.
Yeah, we're at that point we're talking about their games and not their platform that the entire world is building games on. Like listen, if Nintendo is wiped off the map right now, everyone else can still make games. Like that's an important distinction here.
Yep.
Yeah, the funny thing I find about like the whole Microsoft wanting to buy Nintendo thing, right? Microsoft made an offer before during the N64 days, and they got
the Xbox days,
and the Xbox days, and they got laughed at, and now they're trying to make an offer during the Switch days. Like, dude, when Nintendo was getting their asses kicked by Sony in the N64 days, when they were at one of their lowest points during the GameCube days, they said no. The fuck you think they're gonna say yes during the Switch days when they are riding that high, man? Like
the Switch,
your last opportunity
is the most incongruent.
Your last opportunity with the Wii U.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Is like best-selling console of all time is still currently the PS2, and there are some people who will question, "Hey, do you think the Switch is going to outsell it?" Hey, the Switch came out in 2017. It's 2023. This thing is running a chip from 2015. It can't compete with the last iPod Touch that came out before it got discontinued, okay? This thing is a relic, and it just had like its best month ever. The Switch is going to be the best-selling game console of all time very soon. The Xbox has been in third place for a decade now. I know Microsoft is Microsoft size, but Xbox is Xbox sized. So I'd be very curious. I know their ambition lies elsewhere, but I think it's a bad idea.
Even if they stay where they are, it's still basically PS2, then Wii, then the Switch.
Then the Switch, yeah, exactly. But at this point, that we've got at least another year before a potential Switch sequel comes out. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you want to head to the editor's room, pick a top story?
Yeah, sure. But real quick, I just want to say Castlevania on Netflix.
Yeah, the
Castlevania Nocturne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. I really like it. Everyone's really hot and sexy. Love that. And also it just I think interesting choices are being made, and
interesting choices are good.
Yeah.
I remember Jeff, you and Keenan had me watch the first Castlevania at one point. I think was it you? It was definitely Keenan, but I watched the first Castlevania.
It wasn't me.
Okay, well I had someone here.
Castlevania was so forgettable to me that I forgot how many seasons of it I watched, and I'm still not entirely sure.
I watched 4 episodes, which was the first season. I do not enjoy anime. I found that show to be quite delightful. And it's stylish.
I should give it another shot because I've heard so many good things about it, and I just remember like I watched like the first 2 seasons or so, and I'm just like I literally can't remember a single thing that happened.
I got some
aside from like Dracula, but
Dracula.
I will say it does feel weird that like it got something that happens in the first Castlevania is just Dracula generally, by the end, being uninterested in being a villain, and Castlevania is a series defined by its villain Dracula. So like when Nocturne came out, they basically had to be like, who's gonna be the villain? Let's choose this character from this Sega Genesis Castlevania game, and like yeah, and you can tell that they are struggling to find someone charismatic like Dracula, right? Like her underlings are way more interesting than or like Bartley's characters are like way more, or underlings are way more interesting characters than she is. So it's like,
On that note, let's talk about which of our stories are particularly interesting, or if these are in fact just the underlings of the month. We're going over everything we've talked about. If you had to walk away from September 2023 as we are now and try to say, in all the weird geek shit that happened, what is maybe the biggest, most impactful, or interesting headline? Talk about people at a party, at a little cocktail mixer, in my Discord, because let's be real, on the off chance that you're watching this, you don't know what a cocktail mixer is. I don't know what a cocktail mixer is. I assume there are people and cocktails.
It's where you go to mix cocktails.
So it's like a workshop, like a class of some sort. Okay.
Of course.
I'm kind of all over the place on this one. I feel like this was like Jeff, I know that the stuff that happened this month was like outside your personal wheelhouse. But everything that Chowder and I each talked about to me is like industry shaking. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, the Unity thing is probably what I would put my vote to. That seemed like a huge deal.
It was. Interestingly, it's the one that seems to have resolved itself the most, with like this open-ended Marvel-style post-credits cliffhanger of the bullshit will return.
Yeah, but like cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, like this is going to have implications.
Like the tides have just receded. They're about to crash again. Just wait.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Fun fact about cats out of the bag. Went to my friend's birthday party this past week, and I was like, hey, I know you got 2 cats upstairs. Can I go see your cats? I went to go see the cats. He's like, don't let the cats out. I'm like, I won't. One of the cats got out. And we had to lock down the house and spend like 10 minutes chasing a cat. And I know that that's not how that person wanted to spend their birthday. That was a lovely present for me. I had a wonderful time. And we did get him back in the room, so the expression is bullshit. Unity.
Fun fact about cats out of the bag.
That's because you put them out of a room, not a bag.
Fair.
The latest JoJo chapter ended with like a burrito bag full of dead cat heads.
So Unity is our top story for the month, where we're gonna be thinking about this one for a while. It seems as though the changes that Unity has announced since the tremendous backlash. Also, there was just one quote. Hold on, I gotta pull this up because there's a game I play pretty much nonstop called Slay the Spire from a developer called Megacrit. And they made a statement about how they would have to shift gears in their development to shift away from Unity because of this. And Megacrit said at the end of their statement, "We have never made a public statement before. That is how badly you fucked up."
That is a quote, by the way, a direct quote.
I'm reading that off of something this company posted in their official communication channels. So the sentiment is that across the board, there's some people who are going to be fine sticking with Unity. Maybe this is going to help some people. Maybe some people will never come back. But regardless, this has been
anyone who matters.
Yeah, this has been a pretty big force in the gaming space that has increased games accessibility and the accessibility of game ownership, creation, and publishing that now everyone has to be a little bit scared of. Which, granted, any big publicly traded company should probably be scared of at this point. Hooray!
That's the trend. Just general background radiation of fear.
Yay!
General background radiation of fear.
Hooray! Cool.
Sometimes it's not even in the background.
Yeah, I genuinely enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. If only because I haven't had a good outlet for this particular side of my life and conversation, and these are all very big important things to me. Most of all, obviously, of course, the upcoming HasLab announcement. Just really been on the edge of my seat for that one.
My guess is it's going to be Cybertron. That's my guess. Calling it here.
Is Cybertron a character? I thought it was a planet.
Well,
Is it like Unicron's a planet?
Sometimes you turn.
Like
sometimes
the whole planet is a transfer. Sometimes I believe. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. When it's
in the series. In the series when that was on when we were kids, it was Primus. He's the creator of all the Transformers.
Okay.
So it's like a Primus and Unicron, good side, dark side kind of thing.
If you want to know what that's going to be, and also if the games industry is increasingly fucked, you should come keep hanging out with us. We'll be back probably next month recapping the geeky stories of October 23. And I don't know, I guess we'll have to see what lies in store. I doubt it could be as titanic as the stuff we just saw this month. So, fingers crossed. Who fucking knows? I have been Colin. You can find me...
Meanwhile,
fingers crossed.
Somewhere some companies just like, you underestimate my power.
Yeah. So I've been Colin. You can find me on, because I know Chowder's going to say it. I'm going to say it. Dice Populi. I'm putting a lot of work into that. I'm proud of it. It's almost done. This one.
It really is almost done.
Yeah, I was going to say done, or...
No. At the end of the last recording, they were like, Colin, why are you dragging this out? And then I told them all the things they did that I didn't have planned, and they were like, really? I was like, yeah. No, you guys are fucking around quite a bit.
Nice. I've been Jeff. You can find me in a few different places. I have a YouTube channel where I do toy reviews. That's Alchemist Prime Reviews. I have 2 different Instagrams. One of them is toys.n.art, where I put up toy-related content, and the other one is Things I Wish Existed, that I put up art-related things. Both those Instagram things have dots between each of those words. And that's me. That's where I exist. Allegedly.
Hi, I'm Timel or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter for however long that lasts, because its days are numbered. But at
come on over to Threads.
Chowder,
we don't have hashtags. It's great.
The other place you can find me is Tumblr, which is what was my username? Yeah, Timel Chowder also.
Oh, really? I thought it was bring back the porn with a dot between each word. That's like a 4-year-old story. Why am I making that joke?
I mean, I don't really know.
4-year-old?
Right now.
You kidding me? That shit was like fucking 6 years ago at least, wasn't it?
I've never been on Tumblr, so I don't know.
I mean, maybe I'll try Blue Sky if they ever get in. If they ever like open up
again. The idea being that once all these things are up and running and they're all in the same protocol, you can just take your followers from platform to platform. So
wait, they're making one called Blue Sky now?
Well, Blue Sky was actually a startup within Twitter to create a decentralized Twitter, and then Twitter got bought out and Blue Sky is now separate.
So, but are they just like snatching the Blue Sky trademark since Disney destroyed Blue Sky Studio?
I have no idea. I feel like it doesn't apply because they're different types of organizations.
Oh, I see. Right.
But
fair enough.
No, but I mean,
like Dove and Dove.
Yeah, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Threads, they all run on the same protocol, which is decentralized. So
maybe I should try Mastodon.
Yeah, because basically what's going to happen is with each of these platforms, unlike Twitter where it's all locked in, you will eventually be able to say, I don't like the algorithm or the ethics of Threads. Move your shit over to Mastodon, and you're just there now. So that is the kind of thing we don't have in games right now. That maybe we need. We need the ability to leave when people that take over companies do very, very stupid and very racist things. Please. Elon Musk.
What was the racist thing?
Oh, the explosion of anti-Semitism on X, since Elon Musk named it X.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, just the general bigoted dumpster fire.
Oh yeah, no, that was just a standard operating procedure.
Anyway, we'll talk to you next month. Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
There.
There it is. Okay, I was waiting to hit stop. I was waiting for the dirt.